My girlfriend lied about her job and used my credit to furnish her apartments, so I took the car, closed the cards, and let her face the debt. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I thought I'd finally found someone who wanted to build a future with me. I've always been the kind of person who plans ahead, pays bills on time, checks credit reports twice a year, and avoids unnecessary debt like the plague. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. I had a solid job, a decent apartment, and a growing savings account that I was proud of. To me, responsibility wasn't boring, it was peace. Then came Alyssa. She was everything I wasn't. Vibrant, spontaneous, magnetic. We met at a friend's birthday dinner, and I swear, the moment she smiled at me, the whole room dimmed. She told me she worked in marketing for a luxury fashion brand, traveling for campaigns, managing big clients. I was instantly impressed. She had this confidence that made me feel like I needed to catch up to her level over drinks that night. She asked me what my 5-year plan was. No one had ever asked me that before, not seriously. When I told her I was focused on building a strong financial base and maybe starting a business someday, her eyes lit up. "That's exactly how I think," she said. "I want someone who's not just living for today, but building for tomorrow. You and we could build an empire together." Those words hit me hard. For years, I'd dated people who thought my practicality was dull or obsessive. But Alyssa, she made it sound romantic, like ambition could be love language. By the time the night ended, I was hooked. We exchanged numbers, texted until sunrise, and within weeks, I was convinced I'd met the woman I'd spend my life with. I didn't realize then some empires are built on lies. From the beginning, Alyssa made everything feel like a partnership. She'd text me photos of designer offices, saying things like, "One day, that'll be our space." She had this way of making ambition sound like intimacy, like every dream was something we'd chase together. It was intoxicating. A few months in, she started talking about moving in together. "Why pay 2 rents when we spend every night at each other's place?" she said, her tone playful but confident. I hesitated. Merging lives was one thing, but merging finances, that was sacred territory for me. Still, she smiled, touched my arm, and said, "It's just about trust, babe. We're already a team." I remember sitting in my living room one night, spreadsheets open on my laptop as she curled up beside me. "You're so organized," she said, tracing her finger along my arm. "You're going to be such a good husband someday." That line melted every bit of resistance I had. So, when she asked to be added as an authorized user on one of my credit cards, just for emergencies or little things for the apartment, I agreed. I told myself it was practical. She promised she'd only use it occasionally, that she had her own savings and a steady income from her marketing job. Soon after, she started sending me Pinterest boards filled with furniture ideas. "Picture this in our living room," she'd say. "White marble coffee table, velvet couch, gold lighting. It'll feel like success." I laughed, teasing her for her expensive taste. She'd wink and say, "Don't worry, I'll handle it. I just need to use your card until my next paycheck clears." It all sounded harmless, even thoughtful. I was proud that she trusted me enough to handle our shared vision. But love makes you blind, and trust can become a weapon when it's given too easily. We found the apartment on a sunny Saturday afternoon. It was the kind of place that made you feel successful just walking through it. Floor-to-ceiling windows, polished wood floors, a kitchen island big enough to host a dinner party. The rent was higher than I'd planned, but Alyssa's excitement was contagious. "It's an investment in our future," she said, looping her arm through mine. "Besides, I just got promoted. I can handle my half." I wanted to believe her. The way she said it with that confident smile made any doubts feel small. We signed the lease that day. She insisted on handling most of the setup, telling me to relax and let her work her magic. I was working extra hours at my job, and the idea of coming home to a fully furnished place sounded perfect. Over the next few weeks, packages started arriving, massive boxes labeled with brand names I recognized but had never bought myself. When I asked if it was all necessary, she laughed. "You work so hard. Don't you want to come home to somewhere that feels luxurious?" I'd walk in late some nights to find her lighting candles, music low, the scent of new furniture and perfume filling the air. It all looked perfect, almost too perfect. The apartment felt like something out of a magazine, not a place regular people could afford. Still, I convinced myself it was okay. She was earning well, and I trusted her. When I asked how much everything cost, she brushed it off. It's under control. Just focus on work, babe. I'm handling the details. I'd lie awake sometimes, staring at the ceiling, telling myself not to overthink it. After all, she was smart, capable, and driven. What could possibly go wrong? I didn't know then every beautiful thing around me had been bought with a lie. The first time I noticed something was off, it was a credit alert on my phone. My balance was higher than usual, way higher. I scrolled through the transactions, confused. A $900 charge from a designer furniture store, another from a boutique home decor site. I didn't remember authorizing any of it. When I asked Alyssa, she barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, that's just delivery stuff," she said casually. "They split the payments weird, but it'll all balance out next month. Don't stress." Her tone was so light, so confident, that I almost believed her. But that small voice in my head, the one that used to protect me, whispered that something didn't add up. I tried to bring it up again later that week, showing her the bill. She sighed, brushing her hair back. "Babe, I told you, I'm handling it. My company's reimbursing me for some of the decor. I used your card because mine hit the limit after my travel expenses. It's temporary." I wanted to believe her, but the late-night client dinners, the way she'd vanish for hours claiming she was meeting coworkers, it all started to feel off. I'd come home to find her in a silk robe, sipping wine, candles flickering around the apartment. She always looked calm, never tired, never stressed, like someone who worked 12-hour days in marketing. Sometimes she'd tease me about worrying too much. "You need to loosen up, babe. Not everything is a spreadsheet." I'd laugh awkwardly, even though something about her tone felt sharper than before. I didn't want to be controlling or paranoid. She made me feel like questioning her meant doubting love itself, so I swallowed my unease, thinking I was being mature. But in reality, I was ignoring the first cracks in a perfect illusion. Cracks that were about to split everything wide open. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday morning. I was half asleep, sipping coffee before work, when my phone buzzed a fraud alert from my bank. My credit utilization had suddenly spiked to nearly 95%. My stomach dropped. That couldn't be right. I logged in, and the numbers hit me like a punch. Thousands charged across multiple cards. All tied to stores. Alyssa had mentioned furniture, electronics, even boutique linens. At first, I thought maybe my identity had been stolen. I called her immediately. "Alyssa, did you make any big purchases lately? Something's wrong with my account." There was a long pause on the other end. Then her voice shaky, almost rehearsed. "Babe, don't freak out, okay? It's just a mix-up. Some payments didn't go through from my card, so I used yours. But I'm fixing it. Fixing it." I repeated. My pulse was pounding. "Alyssa, this is thousands. You didn't even ask me." Her tone turned defensive. "I said I'd pay you back. Why are you making this a big deal?" That word, this like I was overreacting to financial betrayal. I hung up, heart racing, and called one of the stores listed. The clerk confirmed it all. Every purchase, every receipt, every delivery under my name, my credit, no authorization, no reimbursement. By the time I got home, Alyssa was sitting on the couch, mascara streaked, pretending to cry. "I didn't want to lose you," she said. "I lost my job months ago. I didn't want you to see me as a failure." My whole body went cold. Every late meeting, every client dinner, every perfect thing she'd decorated it had all been financed by me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at her, realizing the woman I thought was my partner had built her dream life on my name, and I was the fool who let her. I didn't even recognize my own voice when I spoke. It came out low and cracked, like something inside me had already broken. "You lied about everything," I said. "Your job, your money, even our future." What else was fake? Alyssa buried her face in her hands, sobbing. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just scared. You're so perfect, so put together. I didn't want you to think I was some loser." The words hit me in waves. Fear, excuses, manipulation. I wanted to feel pity, but all I felt was exhaustion. "So instead, you stole from me?" I asked quietly. "You maxed out my cards to keep pretending you were someone you're not." She snapped her head up, eyes wet but sharp. "Don't call it stealing. I told you I'd pay it back." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that scared even me. "With what, Alyssa? Imaginary paychecks? She flinched, then switched tactics, her voice softening. "Please, don't ruin us over money. You love me, right? We can get through this." For a moment, I almost wavered. That's how she worked, turning guilt into glue. I could see it in her eyes, that small, satisfied glimmer when she realized I was hesitating. But something inside me hardened. I told her I needed time, space, to think. She nodded, acting relieved. "Thank you, babe. I'll get a new job soon. You'll see. Everything will go back to normal." That night, I lay awake listening to her move around the apartment, humming softly as if nothing had happened. She even made me breakfast the next morning, smiling like it was all behind us. But I knew better. The trust was gone. Every touch, every "I love you," every moment of affection now felt scripted. And beneath all that charm, I started to see the truth. Alyssa wasn't sorry she'd done it. She was only sorry she'd been caught. A week passed. Alyssa was suddenly full of apologies, job applications, and performative affection. She'd cook dinner, leave sticky notes saying, "We'll get through this," and text me photos of employment listings. It was all too smooth, too polished. My gut told me she wasn't fixing anything. One night, I was reviewing my credit report online, trying to assess the damage. When I noticed something new, 2 additional accounts opened under my name, both recently approved. My blood ran cold. I clicked through and saw the details. New store cards, both tied to her email address. My hands trembled as I confronted her. "Alyssa," I said, holding up my phone. "What the hell are these?" She looked up from the couch, calm as ever. "You're checking that again? You're so obsessed with money." "Alyssa, you opened new cards with my information," I said, my voice rising. "That's identity theft." She didn't even flinch. Instead, she smiled slow, deliberate, almost mocking. "You make good credit," she said softly. "I make good taste. We balance each other." For a moment, I thought I misheard her. Then the weight of those words hit me. There was no remorse, no panic, just pride. That's when I realized everything about her, every story, every dream, was a performance. She'd never lost control. She'd always been in control. When I told her to leave, she scoffed. "Leave? I'm on the lease, remember? And all that furniture. It's in your name, too. If you want to throw me out, go ahead, but you'll still be paying for everything." Her smile was venom. For the first time, I saw who she really was, not a struggling woman trying to keep love alive, but a manipulator who'd turned affection into leverage. I walked out that night, my mind racing, realizing this wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was war. After that night, everything collapsed faster than I could process. Alyssa didn't just leave quietly, she vanished. One morning, her clothes were gone, her phone disconnected, her social media wiped clean. What remained was chaos. Stacks of bills, credit statements, and a voicemail from a debt collector, politely, informing me that my past due balance had been sent to collections. The walls of that perfect apartment suddenly felt suffocating. The scent of her perfume still clung to the couch I hadn't even wanted. I'd sit there for hours, surrounded by everything she'd bought, everything I'd unknowingly paid for, and feel sick. The banks didn't care about my story. To them, it was just numbers and signatures. I filed fraud reports, called customer service lines, waited on hold for hours while some indifferent voice repeated, "We'll investigate and get back to you." Weeks passed and nothing changed. My credit score plummeted, debt piled up, and I barely slept. Friends tried to be supportive at first, but eventually, the pity in their eyes turned to judgment. "Man, you should have seen it coming," one said. "She was too good to be true." Another joked, "Guess she really used you." They didn't mean to hurt me, but their words cut deeper than the debt nights were the worst. The apartment felt haunted by her laughter, her perfume, her lies. I stopped turning on the lights when I came home. It felt easier to sit in the dark, pretending the world had stopped. There was one night I remembered clearly, the moment I hit my lowest point. I sat on the floor, surrounded by unopened bills, a stack of final notices beside me, and whispered out loud, "How did I let this happen?" My voice cracked. For the first time, I realized Alyssa hadn't just destroyed my finances, she'd broken something inside. Me, I wasn't sure I could rebuild. It took hitting rock bottom for something inside me to finally snap, not in anger, but in clarity. I woke up one morning surrounded by bills, the room smelling like stale coffee and dust, and I realized I couldn't live like this anymore. I was tired of feeling powerless, tired of letting her mistakes define me, so I started digging. I spent hours researching credit law, consumer rights, and fraud reporting. I learned about dispute filings, police reports, and how to reclaim stolen identity. It was grueling long calls, endless documentation, but for the first time in months, I felt a purpose. Then, a friend who still followed Alyssa online sent me a link. There she was, posting pictures in designer clothes, drinking champagne in some luxury condo, smiling like she hadn't just wrecked my life. The caption read, "Manifesting abundance." That single post lit something fierce in me. I wasn't going to just move on. I was going to take back everything she stole. I started with the car. She'd convinced me to co-sign a luxury sedan months ago, claiming her company covered half the payments. But when I checked the paperwork, the car was registered entirely in my name. Legally, it was mine. I waited until I knew she'd be home, my heart pounding the entire drive. Her new apartment was in a high-rise downtown. I spotted the car right there, gleaming under the streetlight. For a moment, I hesitated, my hand shaking as I unlocked it. Then I took a deep breath and slid into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. As I pulled away, I saw her through the glass doors, frozen, mouth open, realizing exactly what I'd done. I didn't speed. I didn't smile. I just drove off quietly, thinking this time, she can walk. Driving away that night felt like breathing again. For months, I'd been trapped under guilt, debt, and manipulation. But as the city lights blurred past me, I felt the weight start to lift. That car wasn't revenged, was justice. It was mine. When I got home, I parked it right in front of my apartment, opened my laptop, and started building a timeline. Every purchase, every charge, every unauthorized, card documented. I printed emails, bank statements, even text messages where she admitted to borrowing my cards. I built a case piece by piece, not out of spite, but survival. I filed a formal fraud complaint with my bank and attached proof. Then I called the dealership, explaining that the car had been taken under false pretenses. They confirmed the title and registration were in my name. Alyssa had zero legal claim. Within a week, the investigation started moving. The bank froze her access to every shared account. Collection calls shifted toward her. And the best part, the furniture she'd bought technically mine too. I sold nearly everything through local listings. Every velvet couch, every gold mirror. Every luxury item she used to build her image, I turned it all into debt repayment. Each sale felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. When one buyer offered cash for a marble dining table, I couldn't help but smirk. That table had once been Alyssa's manifestation centerpiece. Now, it was helping me rebuild my credit. Then came the final blow. The fraud department confirmed the accounts she'd opened using my SSN would be transferred to her name once the investigation concluded. Her perfect lifestyle, the one she flaunted online, would now collapse under the very weight she'd built it with debt. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. I didn't need to scream, threaten, or expose her. All I had to do was let reality do what it does best, balance the books. When the dust finally settled, silence filled the space where chaos used to live. No more collection calls, no more unopened bills scattered across my table. Just quiet. For the first time in a long time, it didn't scare me. Alyssa eventually found me, at least, through text. Her messages started polite, then pitiful. "You didn't have to do this to me. You ruined my life. We could have fixed this together." Each one hit with a strange mix of anger and disbelief. I stared at the screen, wondering if she truly believed I was the villain in her story. When I didn't reply, she escalated, posting vague quotes online about toxic men and fake love. Mutual friends sent screenshots. She painted herself as a victim, claiming I'd financially abused her, that I'd taken everything. For a moment, it got to me. I started questioning myself, had I gone too far? But then I'd open my bank app, see the empty balances slowly climbing back up, and remember the sleepless nights, the shame, the hollow ache of being used. No, I hadn't gone too far. I'd just stopped being her supply. Over the next few months, I focused on rebuilding my credit, my peace, my sense of self. I cut unnecessary spending, took on extra freelance work, and paid off the last of the damage she'd caused. Every payment felt like closing another chapter. Friends started coming back around once the drama faded. One even said, "Man, you handled that better than most would." I just smiled, because they didn't see the nights I broke down, or the mornings I forced myself out of bed. Still, I had one quiet rule for myself: no more partners who mistake stability for control. Love should never come with an invoice. It's been almost a year since everything collapsed, and I can finally say Italisa isn't part of my story anymore. My credit's nearly restored, my debts are mostly cleared, and the apartment that once felt like a crime scene finally feels like home again. The furniture's gone, replaced by secondhand pieces I actually paid for. The walls are bare, but peaceful sometimes. I still catch myself remembering her laugh, the way she used to say, "We'll build an empire." Back then, I thought she meant partnership. Now, I know she meant ownership of me, my money, my peace. She wasn't building with me, she was building on me a few weeks ago. I saw her by accident at a cafe downtown. She looked different, tired. Her hair was dull, her designer purse worn. For a second, she froze when she saw me. Then she looked away, pretending to check her phone. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. That silence was louder than any revenge. Walking out that day, I realized the most powerful thing I'd done wasn't taking the car or closing the cards. It was choosing to stop carrying her debt emotionally. She'd taken my credit, my trust, my time, but I'd taken back my control. People think justice always looks dramatic: shouting matches, courtroom scenes, public revenge. But sometimes it's quiet. It's the peace that comes when you finally stop replaying what they did and start focusing on who you're becoming. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone stronger, not bitter. Someone who learned that love without honesty is just manipulation, dressed up as affection. Alyssa once used my name to build her dream life. Now, I use my story to rebuild mine brick by brick, on a foundation no one else can touch.